Welcome to Tech Talks, Evolving Distribution. I'm Corey Hayes, and with me is Bill Rosado. Today, we're exploring how digital transformation is reshaping the distribution industry.
That's right. From e-commerce platforms to CRM tools, we talk with industry experts about how distribution can embrace these changes and thrive in the ever-changing space.
Whether you're just getting started or looking for new insights, we've got you covered. Today's episode is packed with information to help you navigate the digital shift.
So let the tech talk begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Corey Hayes alongside Bill Rosado, as always. Bill, how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, super stoked for this episode, right? And you know, Corey, right? We being in the e-commerce space, a lot of questions we get are about data content, right? Where you get it, how you get it, or we just don't like ours, you know. So really excited about our guest today and what we're going to cover, because I think the industry really needs to hear some of what he's got to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, let's introduce Matt Christensen, president of Distributor Data Solutions, DDS. Matt, how are you today?
I'm excellent. How are you guys?
Doing pretty good. I cannot complain. It's finally warm outside. It feels like spring is here. I still got a sweater on, but it's finally warming up. So I cannot complain. All right. So let's get into the conversation today. As Bill already mentioned, president of Distributor Data Solutions. Matt, why don't you just introduce us to you, introduce us to DDS. Tell the listener just a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. DDS we started, my co-founder and I, a little over 11 years ago. We started out of the electrical distribution space. He owned a distributor called Codell Electric Supply, now one of the opcos of Sonopar. He started in his 20s. I was his head of IT for 10 years, and we were actually one of the very first distributors to do e-commerce. Back in the second phase days and second phase, now Bill Trust, they were the only ones that had an Eclipse integration, so that was our only option at the time. And so we spent about a year building the site, integrating the site, getting every department, marketing and sales and everyone on board, and they each had their own responsibilities for copy and content that we wanted on the site. Took us about a year, and we launched the site, and even though we were one of the only ones doing it, our customers immediately complained. And they complained because the thing we didn't think about is the product data. And we were subscribed to IDEA. We were subscribed to Trade Service for the ERP content, for the Eclipse content. And didn't think about that there was anything else that the customers needed. We were new to e-commerce. And so, you know, back then, this is, 15, 17 years ago. It just wasn't great, right? It was just basic data. There were hardly any images. The descriptions were really invoice descriptions, which were in Eclipse, which were fine for internal, but not for the end user. And so that was kind of the aha moment of we needed to do something different. And so what we did is we hired a guy, and his only job was to copy paste from the manufacturer's website, paste into a spreadsheet, upload into the second phase, now Bill Trust site. And that's all he did. And so he had no other responsibilities. He just copy pasted data. There's obviously additional solutions these days, but we were just trying to get images and short descriptions, very basic information. So it took him a year to do about 11,000 SKUs. And we were selling in our product file 350,000 products. And so the time and the math, the numbers didn't add up. We weren't going to hire 20 people to do the same thing. And so we figured out a way to expedite that. And fast forward a little bit, Dale, my co-founder, sold to Sonopar. And within a year or so, we started this company to solve that problem, the e-commerce product data. So started in electrical with distributors, that quickly changed into electrical, plumbing, HVAC, industrial supply, industrial gas and welding, any of the wholesale, any of the B2B large quantity distributors. And so that then morphed into syndication for manufacturers. We're already getting the data for manufacturers. And so any of the manufacturers that have hundreds or thousands of distributors that have varying technologies, we syndicate for them directly into their platform. So long story, we sit in the middle between manufacturers and distributors and help with the content problems. And e-commerce is obviously the driver, but the very large enterprise distributors, it's ERP, they're making acquisitions and they have multiple ERPs. And so trying to help clean up that data, even to sell within ERP, has to come before PIM, has to come, and then e-commerce is not necessarily the number one driver. So a lot of work in the data side, and a lot of interesting problems.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you're tackling something, or at least I guess I should say, in my experience that I've seen, the conversations over the last 2 years that I've had with distributors and even some light manufacturers, it almost always seems like the biggest headache, or one of the biggest headaches that they face, is their product data. And it just seems like it's for so many distributors out there, it feels like a mountain that's just almost impossible to climb, and they don't know where to go. They don't exactly know what to do. So I think what you're doing is needed, and more people need to know about it. I think that sometimes distributors just don't really understand the resources that exist out in the data sphere. So they just feel abandoned.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that most of the distributors that we see will try to do the data themselves, just exactly the way we did. Or there's third-party scraping companies that can help them out. But that it's not just the data for product detail that it used to be. You need to be able to categorize the data quickly. You've got to have a taxonomy that works with the e-commerce platforms. You've got to be able to enrich and enhance and normalize the short descriptions for search so that their end users can find the products. Variants for colors and sizes. Normalizing attributes and values, or creating attributes and values where they're missing maybe from the manufacturer. So there's a lot of things around the data where it used to be just trying to get access to the data, just the product detail portion of the data was enough. But what we saw was then the distributor was then trying to mass categorize all these products from all these manufacturers, and a lot of times, at least before AI, that took product experts and a lot of time, and we see very large $10-20 billion distributors that have a backlog of 2 to 3 million SKUs that aren't even categorized, so they're just not even sellable yet. And so it goes well beyond kind of the traditional what people think as, okay, I can just get kind of the product detail, but then you're left with all of that extra work to get it into your PIM or your platform or your ERP. So there's a lot around the actual data itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Matt, what's one thing that distributors believe that's just completely wrong? Right? What's one of those things that they really think they got it and understand it, but they're completely out in left field?
I think in our world, in the data world, and I don't know if it's wrong. It's just underestimate the time that it takes for the data. And the reason is because if you look at distribution in any of the industries that we're in, even a small medium distributor is selling what, 10,000, 20,000 SKUs from hundreds of manufacturers. And in North America, there really are no data standards today. So every manufacturer is delivering that data differently. Every manufacturer has different attributes, different values. There's no normalization or standardization between the data. And so then that's on the distributor to, typically they'll prioritize. So they'll prioritize by their top manufacturers that they're selling more of, and they'll push those and clean those up first. And then the mid manufacturers and smaller manufacturers are typically not prioritized at all. And so it's not good for the manufacturers, it's not good for the distributors, and really neither side is selling as much as they should be because the manual process is going on at the distributor level of trying to clean up or normalize and just use the data. So I think it's again, it's education. So manufacturers don't understand that. They think, if they're a smaller, medium-sized manufacturer and they're not a top tier manufacturer, then they don't get, why are my products not showing up on my distributor
Right.
site? Well, there's just so much manual effort going on that it's just not the priority. So I think back to the question, the time and the difficulty and the number of resources that it takes to continually manage data. It's not a one-time thing. Data is a moving target. There are constantly updates. There are constantly new products, new lines added. We see a lot of distributors adding new segments, adding safety, adding, just new segments to their business. So it's an ongoing thing that I don't think a lot of them realize how difficult it is until they try it. And so they have to try it to see how difficult it is. And then that's when they will typically come to us, or maybe they'll use a third party overseas scraper and realize that the quality's not there. It's not accurate. It's not complete. But then they've got to categorize it. They've got to do all the other stuff that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think just underestimating the challenge of
Yeah.
on data. So you need automation, you need technology, you need the integrations into the various platforms in order to scale. That's the key.
Yeah, tying this back to our e-commerce world, and really in my days as an implementer, working with clients during their onboarding, when we were setting up e-commerce sites, I think you're exactly right. There were a lot of distributors, and if I think about who went through implementation successfully and who it maybe took a little bit longer in implementation, it really comes down to data. And it comes down to who had good data, who was approaching it, thinking about it the right way, and then who was just kind of left in the dark and really wasn't taking advantage of resources that they had. I think that we're getting a guest appearance on the show today. Somebody likes my points about data. I appreciate that. Yeah. So tying it back to implementation, I think in my mind, I can almost separate who was successful and who wasn't really about around how they approach their data. So really, I want to ask you the same question, Matt. In your experience, what separates distributors that succeed in technology and in digital transformation in the world of data from those that struggle?
The people. I think we see that from small, mediums, enterprise, $30 billion distributors. I think it's the team, it's the people. We see a lot of, not a lot, but we see more turnover, I would say, lately than we did years ago. And you just, the ones who can get the buy-in from leadership, and then also the leadership that is really pushing the technology to grow their business. You got to have both, but I think it's just the mindset and the talent of the people themselves. We see, I can think of one very, 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 one of the biggest distributors in one of the industries. We've seen turnover. It seems like once a year on kind of the data side, and the priorities change each time. And it just seems like if you look back 5 years, they're kind of at the same spot they were 5 years ago, and they're huge. So they're doing a lot of things right, but if you look at their number one competitor, I mean, they're just killing it. It's going to be incredibly difficult to catch up to them digitally in the next, I'd say, 5 years. But there are some new people in leadership, and it's just interesting. Just the people, and the company hasn't changed, but kind of the mindset and the goals of, hey, we've tried all these things and they haven't worked the way we wanted and as fast as we wanted. So I think it's in every business, right? It's in our business, it's in everything. It's just the team that you've got.
Yeah, I think 2020 COVID was probably our biggest turnover monster that we possibly had, right? Everybody, the great resign and go find a new job, right? Everybody took advantage of that. And then bigger that's underlying and has continued is baby boomers are all retiring. So, I mean, we're losing people that have all this knowledge, all this tribal knowledge of their business and their products. And you're bringing in young people, they're expecting technology. But yeah, there's a huge shift in people, right? What's happening, and finding good people and keeping good people is extremely important nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and before you move on, I know it's your cue, Bill, before you move on, but I think it's really important to note, Matt, in the story that you told, you're talking about, it sounds like you're talking about an enterprise level distributor. And I think it's really worth noting, because I feel like sometimes more of our like SMB or mid-market distributors get caught in this trap of thinking, well, if I just had more money to throw at the problem would go away. And it's not necessarily true. You have to focus on bringing the right people to the table. And I know we've seen it. I'm sure that you've seen it too. Success and the right people really transcends how large your distributor is and how large your organization is. You can succeed when it comes to these principles, even if you are at the SMB level, even if you are at the mid market level, even if you don't have the financial resources that an enterprise distributor has. You can still succeed by bringing the right people to the table.
Oh, 100%. I think it's just true in every business. I can't imagine a business that it's not true in, where if you just don't have you could throw all the money you want, but if you don't have the right people to spend it or use it wisely, then you're probably just wasting money.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to step on your question there.
That's right. No, you're good, bro. All right. So, Matt, a lot of experience in distribution. And there's a lot of things that have happened during your time in distribution, and things are coming forward, right? But what's one popular trend in this content data world that you think's overhyped?
I don't know. I might go the opposite on that. I like, we've been doing this long enough. It's a little over 11 years now. I think that for the first 9 years, we were looking for more technology and more partners to come to our space to help us out. I feel like we were always early, and we had a lot of, I think on the e-commerce side, we had some legacy platforms that were not the latest technology. They weren't the big players. A lot of smaller companies that have come and gone. I think in the last year, 2 years, we're starting to see some of the big boys come in. Starting to see, Shopify and BigCommerce and a lot of the PIM companies coming in that were not here, and then adjacent software as well. So, yeah, I mean, and some of the AI stuff is to be determined if it's overhyped or not. I think that there's a lot of companies that say they're using AI that probably can't scale that AI for especially like an enterprise customer in our side that's doing 10, 20 million SKUs. But yeah, I'm kind of, I welcome the technology.
Yeah.
I welcome the companies coming to our industries. I think we're just behind retail by probably 5 or more years. And so there's a lot of money here. There's a lot of money to be made. The distributors, the manufacturers, they absolutely need help. Um, so I'd say bring it. Whoever can come in and help. Some of the startup app companies that we're seeing to solve some of the problems, some of the ERP companies, I welcome it. I bring it. Let's get as many as we can and see who wins. But I would take this over what we had the kind of the first several years that we were starting, where we felt like we were the only ones with technology, and we started our company with an API, and we had to educate people what an API is back then. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but I say bring it. Whoever can help, let's do it.
I'm ready to go get a Tech Talks t-shirt made, Bill, and just say, bring it. Just have that right there on the front. Bring it. Let's go. No, that's great.
Yeah. And then a QR code to this episode so they can hear Matt say bring it.
Let's do it.
I like that. Well, then how about kind of the other side of this? What does the average distributor underestimate when they begin implementing new technology and they start that transition?
Yeah, I think that's where the integrators, the agencies, the SIs are super helpful. I think if you're talking specifically e-commerce, probably ERP or any of the PIM implementations, I think a good agency, a good SI really sets the expectations and the time frames and the milestones, where the distributors who are not working with those, I think a lot of that, the expectations are probably not realistic from the beginning. So I think they underestimate the amount of money, for sure, the amount of time it's going to take, not just to implement, but that's not the goal. The goal is not to implement. The goal is to be successful and grow your business and save time, or all of the things. And so that's long term. I think the people we talk about, the kind of the talent needed to not just implement, but to make it successful long term. So probably those. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys see this?
Yeah, I think if I were to answer this question, if I was to be on the other side of the coin here, I think the average distributor underestimates, just what bringing in new technology and implementing new technology into your system and into your process, um, the kind of what we were talking about earlier, the amount of actual physical change that it requires. It's not a magical switch that when you just turn it on, everything's perfect and everything works. No, this is going to change Susie's day-to-day process and the
Yeah.
way that she's changed things. And it's not meant to replace her. It's not meant to, make her job more difficult. It's meant to enhance what she's doing and her expertise. But it is going to change things. Um, just how much change is actually happening as you're implementing new technology, I think is probably the biggest underestimation. And I think it's probably the biggest fear because we get used to how we do things and people just fear the idea that's going to change. And so I would think that, and then something that you've already talked about, it kind of at the top of our questions here is just the time. At least in the e-commerce space, it seems like so many people come to the table saying, we want to go live as fast as absolutely possible. And when I was in implementation, I would tell literally what you just said. I would tell people your goal should not be to go as fast as possible. I get it. Sometimes there's reasons to go fast, but your goal shouldn't be to get done by X amount of days. Your goal should be to succeed when you go live. That's the importance of your implementation. Isn't to see how quick you can do it. It's to see how effective it is once you go live with that technology. Yeah. What do you think, Bill?
Well, so just a little bit different view on it. I think when we talk about what people underestimate is when we're going through this digital transformation, I think they don't realize how many processes they have that are broken,
Yeah.
and that software is going to fix those processes. If the process is broken, automating it is just making it even worse, right? I think they underestimate how much they need to change and adapt. The technology is there to help them, but they've got to analyze and think about kind of what you said earlier, Matt. And not saying that it was broken, but you paid a guy a whole year and he did a fraction of what you needed, right?
Yeah.
That's not broken, but that's not the right way that you want to go about it, right? So you found different alternatives. How can we make this and how can we do it faster, right? That's not going to cost us as much. And I think people underestimate and think that just plugging in software fixes all their problems and it's all live, but it's not, right? It is a moving piece, and you've got to look at the process and say, what can we do better, and how does this automation help us?
And I'm sure when you made those changes, when you went from the manual scraper going out grabbing 11,000 SKUs in the year, you realized maybe the person's not broken, but maybe our process is a little bit. And when it came time to change that, there was probably a moment where you said, we have to sell out to this. Like, we have to absolutely 100% buy into what we're changing in order for it to be effective.
So that was the cool thing about my business partner, co-founder. This was his company, the distributor, and he had the personality of he always wanted to be the latest in technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to be head of IT to have that role. But the cool thing is if we were going to do it, then the mindset from him was everyone was going to change and everyone was going to do it regardless. This is going to be successful. No complaining. You're just going to do it because I said so. And it worked, because then it was buy-in from the top of you're going to do it, and you're going to adopt, and you're going to do the training. You're going to do the learning. You're going to do ongoing training. Everybody's going to do this. There is going to be 100% buy-in, or else you're going to go work somewhere else. And it worked. No matter what technology, no matter what changes, that mindset from the top, right or wrong, scared everyone into doing it. And things were very successful, where I see other cases where you have maybe a marketing person or an e-commerce person that is the champion, and they may be the right person, but they don't truly have that buy-in of the change from the top, of saying, you're all going to do this. You're all going to get on board with it. You're not going to have sales bypassing e-commerce. You're all going to buy into it, or else you go work somewhere else. And that's one way to do it that works. The other way of not having buy-in is we see that fail. And then the person that is probably a pretty good fit for the technology is not a good fit for the company. And so then they leave and go do that somewhere else where they've got support.
Yeah. And it sounds harsh. And I know we got to get to this last question here for the sake of time, but it sounds harsh when you say it like that. But something that
it was way worse.
But something that I think everybody needs to understand, and I think good leaders understand, is that strong leadership produces strong companies. And everything flows from the top down. So if the leaders bought in, you're going to get buy-in from your people. But if the same way, if the leader struggles with hesitation and indecision, the people that work for you are going to struggle with hesitation and indecision, and
Yeah.
you're going to be left with broken processes.
Yeah.
It's
There
just
obviously has to be a reason. So that reason has to be communicated. You can't just be the parent that says, because I said so. It has to be, we're doing this because of these three things, and these three things are not working, and we're going to grow, and we're going to do this. There obviously has to be a reason for everyone to buy into, not just that because I said so. That's not sustainable. But
Yeah, but it sounds like your co-founder created that culture, right? That we are going to adopt new technology. And if you want to be on board, you're on board. If you're not, you're not. I mean, as harsh as that sounds, I mean,
it is,
it's
and
effective.
we had a track record of being successful with it. So it wasn't just like we're doing this one thing and we're all gonna do it. It's like everything we've ever done. You say everything, but most things we've ever done have been successful, and the reason is because everyone buys in, and then over time, you get everyone on board, and then or almost everyone on board, and so it's how I run it. You've got to get people on board, and this is why, and it has to. AI is a good example. So we've had AI in our product, not just in the company, but in our product for over a year. Baseline in the product. It's huge for data. Working on it for a year before that. And our VP of operations was the first one to say, look, we need to start doing this, or else we're going to get behind. And so I just told him, like, whatever you need, because you're going to have pushback. Developers are going to push back. Every department's going to push back at some point. And so I'm like, if anyone has pushback, just tell them, come to me. And it just works. And it was the right thing to do. So yeah, it's one way to do it, I would say.
Yeah. So what I'm getting, Bill, is on this T-shirt idea. We're going to have bring it on one side, and we're going to have buy-in on the other. All right. Bring it and buy in. All right.
I like it.
All right. So if that's what the T-shirt's going to be, what's the one piece of advice we put on the second T-shirt then? Because Corey just took the front and the back.
Yeah. Okay.
What's one piece of advice that you give distributors, right, that should be on a T-shirt that they should see?
It's a good question.
You can take my idea if you want. It's fine.
I don't know. I think if I look at kind of smaller distributors, smaller manufacturers, you got to get going. You got to get. There's still just in our CRM. There's still thousands of distributors who are not even on eCommerce yet.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Still today, I'd say to those, you've got to get going. Luckily, there's like you guys, there's so many companies, and no matter what technology, there's so many great software companies today, options that we have that we did not have a few years ago. So there's a lot of people out there that can help these distributors with whatever they're struggling with. So I'd say for those, do your research and reach out and start getting some help. I don't know. Coming from the IT technology background, it's just so helpful. It can be, no matter what it is, whether it's a new CRM or app or AI for specific things. Reach out to us. I mean, we can help. We use AI for marketing stuff. I mean, happy to share prompts, happy to help wherever we can. So I think just reach out to your technology companies. We're the ones that are testing AI and all this stuff before anyone else is. So we can help, and if we can't, then we've got a big LinkedIn network and a network of peers and other distributors that we can help share what they're doing. So
which
reach out for help, honestly.
Yeah. which sets us up for the easiest question you're going to get all day. How do I reach out? How do I find out more about DDS? Say I'm a distributor that I just need help and I'm ready to find more about my data. How do I get in touch with you and your team and learn more about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way, go to our website, distributordata-solutions.com. You can filter by what your role is, what type of distributor or manufacturer or software company. There's plenty of contact forms, contact info. We're super responsive and love to help. Whether we can help or not, we'll let you know. But we can find companies that can help no matter what they're struggling with.
The website thing's a great idea. We got to stop sending everybody to Bill's personal cell phone number when they want e-commerce.
That's how I get all the deals.
Yeah.
Just
there we go.
Call me.
Oh, goodness. No, well, Matt, we appreciate your time today. There was a lot of good stuff in this conversation. Really, honestly, there was. And if you're a distributor that's struggling with data, and there's a good chance you are, if you're a distributor, I challenge you to go back and listen to this conversation probably a few times and pick up on the pieces that there's a lot of golden nuggets in there. Before I take us out, Bill, any final thoughts or questions you have?
Well, I kind of want to tag on to what Matt said. Like, if you're struggling with software or you're struggling with anything, right, to come reach out. There's plenty of peers and companies that can help you. And a shameless plug for the podcast, right? That is part of the podcast, right? We are bringing on people that you should know, right? And you should be able to have a voice but also have an ear and listen to what they say and then reach out to them, right? So don't just watch this episode, watch all the episodes, because there's plenty of great people that have great knowledge and a lot of experience in distribution.
Absolutely. And you've seen the people that we've have brought on, both on the partner level and the distributor level. We've even had your peers in distribution say, "Hey, reach out. We would love to share with you our knowledge and what we've learned and create a community." And that's what we're here to do. So, Matt, thanks again. Really appreciate your expertise. Really appreciate your time. Have enjoyed this conversation today. Thank you, listener, for tuning in to another episode of Tech Talks. Remember, we have episodes coming out the first and the third Thursday of every single month. We also have a LinkedIn page, Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. We would love for you to be a part of that conversation and a part of that community as well. All right. I think that's it for this episode. Thank you again. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Thanks for tuning in.
And we hope you've gained some valuable insights on how to embrace digital transformation and stay ahead in the distribution industry.
A special thanks to our sponsor, Aldrich Web Solutions, for supporting this podcast. With over 20 years of experience, they've been helping distributors win online and maximize their digital presence. Be sure to check them out if you're ready to take your business to the next level.
And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And of course, share this with anyone who could benefit from this conversation.
We'll be back next time with more expert insights. And until then, keep evolving and embracing change.